Okay, so in this video I'll be attempting to swing you over to the way of logic that the universe probably implodes rather than continuous expansion into an inevitable heat death. Um, and so let's explore that. First off, we have gravity, okay? And gravity is bringing things together. You could drop something on the floor right now. Watch those two things become closer together than they had been before. You know, and yeah, sure. Gravity gets sort of weak when you're out in space. You know, um, but there's a lot of massive objects, and like so, every massive object has gravity, and so like the entirety of space is these massive objects, and they're attracted towards one another. And now, when a smaller object is flinged into the gravity of another object, but not directly, and it goes like that. You know what I'm saying? It gets curved towards it, and it goes around it, and it orbits it, and inevitably it gets drawn into it. Um, and so I just, I look at it that way. Really look at it that way. All of the universe are these massive objects that have gravity. If they were to ever come close to one another, they would collide with one another. Every single one of them. And then when they collide, they have a combined gravity, which is stronger than our initial gravity. Well, equal to the, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I'll give you something on that later. But yeah. Eventually, these objects, they merge together and they create something like the sun. And the sun is something where there's so much matter all together that at the center of the object there's a higher gravity opposed to the surface. Like, how you go up farther, there's less gravity. You go away from the object, there's less gravity. You go to the center, there's a lot more gravity. And that gravity is somewhat caused by like the collection of things that are gravitationally collected to it. You see they're like sort of contracting the center of it. And so the closer you get to the center, the more there is contracting upon it. So much contraction takes place that, and now this is where we go into theory, but there's a large amount of heat coming from this. We know that. That's a fact. And the heat sort of radiates to the outer layers of the ball. And on the sun, there's so much of that that's been going on for so long, and there's so much stuff there that the outermost layer of the ball is in a constant plasma state, which is the most spread apart state of matter. Well, out of the four that are commonly discussed. And it creates such an immense heat, and heat is an embodiment of energy in a non-matter form. It is so hot that there's this reaction that causes light. And this light is so eventually the object starts emitting light. I don't know if that's, I don't think that's really inevitable for an object that's exactly the size of the sun. Although it is inevitable that the surface would be very hot. It just depends on like what form the matter's in. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it's around there where it's going to emit light pretty much no matter what it's made out of. I'm distracted. I'm looking at something. But yeah. So you can look at it as this ball is only emitting these small pieces of itself in the form of light. And it's attracting objects the size of the Earth, or bigger, much bigger. And it's going towards something constantly. What is it going towards? Some people think nothingness. But as we're saying, gravity is stronger the closer you are to the ball that's emitting the gravity. So imagine there's like this whole bunch of space debris that's going in towards this ball, this huge ball that's like right here. Whole bunch of space debris, okay? So now it goes sort of slow, and then it speeds up exponentially as it gets closer to the ball. And that's how gravity on Earth is, when something comes towards Earth. That's what happens on a bigger scale too. And so I think that's why we perceive from our perspective the universe to be expanding. We're merely witnessing the exponential shift of gravity towards that big ball that things are going towards. We're the space debris, moving towards this bigger ball. So what we observe to be an expansion of the universe is merely a much bigger contraction, involving a lot more pieces than we can observe from our position on Earth. And that is my belief, that the universe is inevitably moving towards a state of oneness with one big ball. But now you may ask yourself, if the universe were to come into a state of one big ball, how would it ever come apart again if gravity is stronger? And that's the magic of it. Here's the magic of the idea. Now, let's imagine it's all in one big ball. At the center of this big ball, things are hotter. Things are closer together. They get so close together that they transfer into a non-matter form, which is energy. And now as they transform into a non-matter form that is energy at the center of this big ball, what happens? There was something there, and now there's not. There's a physical thing that's gone. It's been changed. It's now gone, and it's changed the properties of the matter around it. It's made it hotter. It's made it faster. Whatever it may be. Denser. Those are the three forms that energy can take. So, now there's this space at the center of the ball. And everything is compelled towards the center. So now we have these dense objects at the center of the ball, the denser objects, that are they're being shifted inwards towards this space. And so now, this eggshell at the center, this hollow eggshell, is now being cracked inwards towards the center, where a large amount of pieces are going towards the center. And this happens, and it happens, and it happens, and it happens. And now the universe is spread apart at the center into the space, starting the process all over again. How does it start the process all over again? Is the big ball always constantly maintained? I'm not really sure. I would imagine not. I would imagine eventually it's all just shifted inwards and as more space is created, and now we have, in that same space that the big ball was, a lot of its matter has been formed into a vacuum space. And so now we have a vacuum of space with a whole bunch of spread apart pieces in that big ball. And they eventually merge together. Creating a smaller big ball, sure. But the vacuum space is merely a form of energy. Maybe I'm going a little too fast here. Okay. I'm trying to imagine I'm describing it to myself. But yeah, there you go. It continues inward forever. Continuous contraction hypothesis. I don't think we go into a heat death. I think we go into a big ball. I think that big ball separates all of its pieces and creates a vacuum space. And then they all merge together again. And you would imagine it to get smaller, sure, but it contains all of the same matter pieces. I guess there would need to be a way for gravity to turn things into matter. And I suppose the answer to that would be that a big ball like the sun emits energy, and then that energy condenses on the surface of smaller balls into matter.